There is a problem with action movies, and I feel we really need to talk about this. Before we go on, I just want to say this is not some rants. I just really want to discuss about this because it's something I've noticed, and it low-key just feels like 1,000 tiny needles on my skin anytime I see it happen. Now, there's been a buckload of action movies over the past decade, and a good portion of them are really good, like the John Wick franchise, while a handful of them are not that good. And some just lie in the middle, like The Beekeeper, which came out this year. I'm going to use this movie as a case study to explain my point. So basically, this story revolves around a guy who's really closer to a Terminator than a human being. This killing machine is on a determined mission to end the guys who scammed an old woman of her entire life savings and charity funds, thus leading her to take her own life. Said grandma was apparently very dear to him. This guy's whole brand is that he keeps bees, so this movie uses the term beekeeper metaphorically throughout it. I don't know if it was meant to be poetic in some way, but it just felt like a cheap gimmick. So first off, just from the synopsis, you can tell it's basically a rinse and repeat of John Wick. I mean, if I had $1 for every similarity, I'd have my very own Pokemon card. I mean, the protagonists are both retired high-profile assassins. Heck, even the way the other characters talk about the Beekeeper and Dread is very reminiscent of how everyone is terrified of the boogeyman in John Wick. And there are many other similarities like this. At this point, it's like they just told the writers and creative directors to just rewrite John Wick, but make it not John Wick. There are also some not so blatant examples of TV shows and movies that follow this heavily cliche trope of the main protagonist just going full-on ravage mode. We've got shows like The Terminal List and movies like Without Remorse. I don't know, it's just a reoccurring theme and I'm sick of it. Go think of something new, Hollywood. And this is even a more deep-rooted issue because Hollywood now is just heavily dependent on the formulaic approach. Almost every company now is trying to remake something that once worked, or at least apply the same formula. And that is exactly what happened with The Beekeeper. Why think of something new and original when we can just go with something overused? Granted, the movie did have its unique components, but largely it was just a copy of something that had come before it, in multiple ways. Even the corrupt politicians and their holy terror children, it's all something we've seen before, nothing new. Although I guess with a movie with somewhat of a simple budget and production, it seems reasonable to go with something that's worked before over something that's experimental. However, aside from the fact that many action movies are quite formulaic, a lot of them have literal demigods as protagonists, or maybe they're just genetically enhanced mutants. Like, I'm serious, nothing can hurt these guys. They are literally the Walking Dead. And just to be clear, I don't see this as particularly a problem. In fact, I actually enjoyed the fact that these guys are invincible, but what I don't enjoy is when it's misused. Look no further than John Wick to buttress this point. That man has taken more bullet shots than some have taken needle shots in their entire lives. And he's still alive? Like, how is that even possible? What's more is that most of the hits he took were within the span of a few months. That means the wounds he sustained from the previous movies couldn't have possibly healed before he went ahead to get new ones. If the excruciating pain doesn't kill him, how about the blood loss? And it's how he somehow manages to kill even more people in this state for me. It's kinda comical, actually. Anyway, at least it's better than not even taking damages from the insane fights you get into. The Beekeeper didn't feature the finest high-tier, top-class assassins. However, it did feature the FBI, the Secret Service, and the SWAT team. And the protagonist tore through these guys like paper. Like, they were literally not worth his time. I'm serious, even one of the characters in the show pointed that out. Nothing stood a chance against him, which did make it funnier, but it reduced the stakes. Because what really makes an audience invested in a character is getting to see them struggle in some way, be it emotionally, financially, and in this case, physically. We signed up to see a world of physical and emotional hurt and pain being dished out in spades, but most especially for our main character. Cause if he's all fine and dandy for 80% of the film, why would we even be bothered for him? Again, I do want to bring up that great movies do incorporate this theme, like obviously John Wick. However, they make it that our main character is still handicapped and on the edge for most of the story. That's what makes the story moving. A film I loved watching in the past decade that to me is even better than John Wick is Christopher Nolan's The Dark Knight. Actually, I love the two Dark Knights, but the first one's more interesting to me. Granted, it does fall under the wider genre of a superhero movie, however, it is still an action movie, considering the mafia baddies, guns, and whatnot. That movie was everything I want to see in an action movie. It stays true to the fast-paced nature of action movies, however, it still slows things down when it has to. It's brilliant, witty, and the protagonist is by no means invincible. Batman takes hit after hit, physically, emotionally, and mentally from the Joker. Joker trivializes and bests him a lot, especially in the psychological department, where Batman is normally very competent in. And at the end, we got to see him in the most vulnerable position when he literally had to choose between his legacy or the greater good. It's just shocking to me how we rarely get any movies like that nowadays. Instead, we just get mid-tier movies like The Beekeeper that are just filled with cheesy one-liners and overused plot points. But that's by the way. My point is, it wouldn't make sense for there to be no hope of defeating the main protagonist. That just defeats the whole point of the story. Even in The Terminal List and The Reacher, though they were both still victims of recycled plots, we at least get to feel some sense of urgency for the characters. Anyway, I just want to say I'm tired of recycled plots. I mean, how many more Fast and Furiouses do we need to pump out before we finally admit that it's time to take a break? Or at least switch things up a bit. But hey, what do I know? I'm just some random guy on the internet with an opinion, and you should probably subscribe if you want more of that. I just wanted to talk about this for a sec because there are things that kind of bother me about action movies that I don't see a lot of people talking about. So there you have it. If you like this video, make sure to give it a thumbs up and subscribe to my channel for more content like this. And if you want me to do a few review of The Dark Knight, you can let me know in the comments as well. Thanks for watching. Bye.